Hello and welcome to Mythical Entertainment Interviews. I'm your host, Mithrandiel. Today we'll be chatting with Joe Fails from the Twitch channel Joe Never Fails. We'll be discussing how he got started with his channel, as well as the Twitch personalities that he follows himself. Stay tuned. So, Joe, I just want to thank you again for joining us today to chat a little bit about your Twitch channel, Joe Never Fails. Now, I've caught a few videos on your YouTube. I've caught a couple of your streams, and your story for Joe Never Fails is it's a pretty interesting one. You want to share a little bit about how your channel got started?
Sure, man. It's crazy, but it's one of my old nicknames that ended up having like a way more meaningful. It ended up becoming something a lot more meaningful in my life. My real name is Joe Fails. So that's something I didn't talk to you about before. But Joe Never Fails was one of my first nicknames in the car business. But it starts a little bit before that. As a kid, like as a teenager, I made some really bad decisions, and I ended up moving to Florida in 2009 to go to treatment to get sober. And one of my first really big jobs after getting out of treatment was selling cars. And in my third month in the car business, my GM, another guy named Joe, he brought me in his office after I was a top salesman for the month, and he said, "Hey kid, from now on you're Joe Never Fails." And I've had it on my business cards, and I ended up like trying to embody that persona for the next couple of years in the car business. And a couple of years down the line, I ended up relapsing and losing, like basically ruining my life and really messing up in a big way. And I ended up in treatment. I ended up going to jail. And one of the first things that happened in my life after getting out of jail was one of my buddies I was living in a halfway house with ended up introducing me to Twitch. And I started watching Twitch. I started watching Twitch broadcasts, and I just immediately fell in love. And I felt like this is something that I wanted to do, or something that I wanted to pursue in my life. And there's literally no other name I could be using. And then on top of that, I ended up working that into the broadcast. I ended up using it in a clever way, explaining and helping the average Joe never fail content to become one of the goals for the cast. And from there, it just keeps growing, man.
Awesome. Now, we ran into each other at the Final Fantasy 15 Uncovered event. How did that invitation come about? What led you to that event?
That's really cool too. I ended up meeting a decent amount of Square Enix representation at PAX Prime 2015. So I tried to do my best to keep in touch, and I go to as many conventions as possible. It's one of like the only things that I spend money on is traveling, because I think that the networking and the event itself is something you can't miss. So I ended up bumping into a lot of people that work at Square Enix, because I forgot about this from the last time. I ended up getting invited to a secret feedback panel after the Final Fantasy 15 panel in PAX Prime. So I got a chance to sit down and meet like Hajime Tabata and their marketing director and their art director, and a lot of the people that were working for Square Enix at the time, Carl and Kaori specifically. And I ended up bumping into Kaori again at PAX South. So the day was really long, and I didn't really end up accomplishing the things that I wanted to do. And I walked outside at the Twitch party at PAX South, and the first person I bump into is Kaori. She goes, "Oh my God, Joe Never Fails. What's going on?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is awesome." And she asked me what I was doing in March, and I go, "Whatever you want me to do, it doesn't matter. I love Square Enix. If you got something in mind." And she goes, "I want you to come out to LA for an event," and the rest is history.
That's awesome, man. Now you helped some other people get to the event. I was chatting with Depth Charge Cosplay recently. She mentioned that you helped her to basically get to the event. Was there anyone else that you brought along for the ride?
Yeah, that was a really cool thing. I always talk about it. Like they flip out about it, and Kiori flips out about it. But like I ended up just thinking about them, and one of the things for me, like networking and friendships and stuff like that, I want to make sure, like if I can make a connection for somebody, I do my absolute best to do that. Like they make such a big deal out of it. I'm just like, guys, I just felt like it was right. It could easily happen. So that's how, like, Square Enix did a great job in helping them get out there too. I just put it together. I ended up going out to Cali, and one of the people that wanted to meet up from like my broadcasting life was the producer of Little Break Radio, Cookie Persona, and
Mm.
she lives out there on the West Coast. And she was like, "Yo, I want to meet up and do lunch and just meet you in general." I was like, "Perfect, no problem." So we ended up meeting up, and apparently I got the timing wrong for the Final Fantasy 15 event.
Mm.
So we were supposed to meet up for coffee, and ended up being like the time to get in. So I walked around, and we're like, I guess I got to go inside. And as I'm going in, one of the like security guys who's working the event was my buddy Chris, who I'd met at Final Fantasy Fan Fest 2014. So I'm like, "Yo, Chris, what's up, dude?" And he's like, "Oh my God, yo, what's going on?" I gave him a hug. We took pictures. I tweeted it out, and before I left, I was like, "Hey, do you think you could do me a favor?" And he's like, "Yeah, what's going on?" I'm like, "Can we get Kookie into this event?" And he's like, "Give me a second," and just ran and grabbed her calendar, grabbed her a ticket, and got her straight in. So
That's awesome.
that ended up being a really cool moment too.
Nice, man. Now you've seen some pretty big changes in your channel in the last couple of weeks. Your subscription base seems to be growing pretty quickly. What's going on? What's leading this current charge? You know, what's the story?
I mean, I talked to you a little bit about this before this phone call, dude. I have no idea, man. Like I don't understand what's happening in so many different ways. The things that if I've been pondering it so much because I'm a numbers guy. Like I really like to analyze and I really like to understand what the heck is happening. I pay attention to markets. I pay attention to who's broadcasting when I'm broadcasting. I try to just like I try to make a formula out of it. And in so many different ways, there's really no explanation to what's happening right now. I've been broadcasting for 2 years, and I've been doing the same thing in so many different ways. I guess one of the big changes for me recently has been I went full time. So I've gone 100% full time. Broadcasting is my primary source of income. I went full time about 2 months ago, and I changed a couple things around, I guess. So I've got two different broadcasts now. I've got one that's in the morning called Your Morning Cup of Joe. Yeah, see what I did there? And I got my evening segment. So I've stayed really committed to both of these segments, and I've been broadcasting for I've been broadcasting for like 10 to 14 hours a day, and the community is responding to it. And I don't know. I have no idea why, but the community has been so supportive, and I can't express my gratitude enough.
Yeah. Now, do you have a pretty cool story about maybe a follower or subscriber of yours, like something that cool that really went down the channel recently that you'd like to share?
There have been recently the followers have been some of the followers have been really making a big impact on me. There have been a couple guys who are like just coming out of the woodwork, and they've been saying, like, yesterday was an insane day. I don't even understand. um, Yesterday there was this a huge amount of support coming to my channel and a bunch of people subscribing, and the two people that ended up making the biggest impact on me yesterday were two people that decided to follow. They both came in and they followed the channel, and I gave them a shout out, and they ended up saying in chat, um, "Hey Joe, by the way, I just want to let you know I've been lurking for like a year and a half, and I've never had a Twitch account, and I just made a Twitch account so I could follow." And I was like, "Man, it's awesome! Like, that's really cool. That's like the whole point of having Twitch, because if you don't have an email address attached to your Twitch account, you can't chat.
Right.
You can't even type anything. That's the whole point of Twitch, is the interaction. That's why I love it. It's the interactive medium. It's not watching TV. You're not just sitting there and absorbing something. You're actually giving something back through your interaction. And both these guys were like, "Well, I I ended up having a lot of anxiety and a lot of like apprehension towards like social interaction, and it's just like I just felt really comfortable in this community to the point where I wanted to to the point where I wanted to make an account, and I wanted to start interacting. So that was something that really really had an impact on me yesterday. Out of everything else, like outside of the subs, outside of the donations, outside of all that stuff, like one person felt comfortable enough to want to engage in Twitch. And I think that was probably the most meaningful thing that happened yesterday in a big way.
That's awesome. Now you've seen quite a few Twitch personalities. You do a lot of networking. Go out and you give your awesome business card, of which I have one of them. Now, who are some Twitch personalities that you like to follow and that you like to engage with, on a semi regular basis?
uh, the two guys that I really, really, really appreciate, the two guys that I look up to the most, like for me, Twitch is my life in such a big way, and also it's like my inspiration. So I'm constantly watching Twitch. I'm engaging with people. I'm engaging in people's chats. The two guys that I'd probably say I watch and I engage with the most are I lurk a lot in Doc's stream, but Doc Got Game is my stream team captain. Twitch.tv/team/ We Are Legend. Doc has been so inspirational in my life in terms of just like me watching him. I still think he's one of the hardest working guys on Twitch. He works incredibly hard. His broadcast is awesome. It's seamless. It's really, really beautiful. He just works really, really hard. He's got one of the most magnetic personalities I think I've seen on screen in a long time. So I watch him a lot. I pay attention to him. I'm sub to him. And another one of the guys that's been probably he's been very instrumental in my growth, and he's another guy that I admire in a big way on Twitch is the Alaskan Savage. Alaskan Savage, Twitch.tv/Alaskan Savage. He's a guy that I met a year ago at PAX East, and I'd been watching his channel for like a month and a half. I ended up seeing him casting some stuff. And at PAX East last year, before I was partnered, I was walking around and I see him with two chicks under his arm. And I walk up to him and I'm just like, dude, I'm pretty sure you're the Alaskan Savage. I think you're awesome. Do you mind taking a picture with me? And he did. And I've been in his chat for the last year, just like popping in and out and keeping in touch with him. And this year at PAX East, I had the opportunity to speak to him as a friend, like to speak to him as somewhat of an equal, because my channel's growing in such a crazy way. Like it's one of those things where like, yeah, you could be a broadcaster and you could be a broadcaster, but if you're not a Twitch partner and you're not X amount of subs, like sometimes people don't view you the same way. And Savage has been one of those guys that took the time to talk to me and took the time to reach out and be a friend like the whole time. But I got a chance, because he lives in Alaska, I don't see him very often. He took the time to like, I had just like incredible conversation with him about life and about how he got started broadcasting, how I got started broadcasting, and I just admire him in a big way. He's one of like the only true pure variety broadcasters. Like never did a single game. He just always did variety his whole career, and it's pretty admirable. And I look up to him a lot. It's his 30th birthday today, actually. So it's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
I actually jumped over to your channel because I was sharing with you earlier today. So I was looking at all your stuff, and I caught the 300 sub video earlier.
Oh
I'm a
man.
little mad. I'm a little mad at you for making me so emotional in the morning.
Hey,
So
I can't watch that video
I
anymore, man.
know.
Either.
I will provide a link for listeners to check it out. It's intense. It's raw, but I thought it was really moving, and to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to sub to this guy. So I
Hey,
did. Um,
thank you,
but
bro. Thank you very
anyways,
much, man.
yeah, you bet. So we've got um, TwitchCon coming up.
Yes, yes,
And now I'm guessing that you're going to be there, correct?
yes. I have my ticket. I will be there.
Awesome. It's in San Diego where I am. So I am going to do my best to get access, media access there, and hopefully we can meet up when the time comes. Until then, are there any other events or conventions that you'll be at in the coming months leading up to TwitchCon?
I don't know when these events are, and it's like really poor planning and scheduling on my end. But
Uh-huh.
I know what events that I will be at for the rest of the year, and I'm going to PAX West. I'm going to TwitchCon. I'm going to Final Fantasy 14 Fan Fest, and I will be going to E3 for the first time this year.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
it's been a dream of mine since I was a little kid, and I'm gonna get to actualize that this year. I'm so ecstatic about it. I'm incredibly blessed and grateful for the opportunity to attend an event like that.
That's great. All right. Well, Joe, again, thank you so much for taking the time. You're currently at 368 subscribers.
Yeah, man.
And I would encourage people to check out your channel, subscribe, and if you're ever looking for a platform to shout something out, feel free to hit us up.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
All right, you bet.